This recording is to show you some basic AutoCAD functions to construct your first AutoCAD assignment, which is based off of orthographic projection. To begin, once you open up a new drawing, the first thing you want to do is to save that drawing. So we'll go ahead and save this drawing, come up to the Application button, down to Save As, locate where you want to save your AutoCAD drawing, and we'll title this Orthographic Projection. You can see at the top of the screen it shows me where I saved my drawing and the name of my drawing that I'm currently working in. The second thing I want to do is I want to change my drawing limits, which is the size of my drawing area. If we come down to the command line and type in limits, my lower left-hand corner, I want to stay at 0, 0, so I'm going to click Enter. Sorry, my upper right-hand corner, I'm going to go ahead and make that 100 units by 100 units. So you type in 100, 100. Enter. And then I'm going to type in Z for zoom and A for all. Okay, and my drawing area is now set up for me. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start constructing my first object. So I'm going to use my simple line command, and if you look at the command line down at the bottom of the screen, it's asking me to specify my first point. So I'll specify that first point, and I need to come over 0 degrees 10 units. So you can see that my mouse is not automatically going orthogonally or 0 degrees and 90 degrees. So I'm going to go turn on ortho on my quick drafting button down here. And now all my lines will be drawn in orthographic mode. So I want my line to be 10 units long. So I can type in 10 units in the command line, and it draws my line at 10 units. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in my screen here and pan over by pushing down on my mouse scroll. Okay, I now want to come up 3 units, and I'm going to come over 3 units. I'm going to go up 3 units, over 4 units, down 2 units, over 3 units, and I'm going to close my object. So here's my front view of that first object. Now to construct a top view, I'm going to use my tracking tool. I'm going to click on my line command. And to start my top view, I'm going to hover over one of the corners of my front elevation and let that guide me using my tracking. That green line is my tracking line. I'll select a point there, and I know that I need to come across to where it meets this point. So once again, I'm using tracking to track those points instead of measuring it. The next thing I know is I need to go back 4 units according to the assignment. Okay. This object is going to be at the same length as my front line, so I can use my tracking to do that. Select that point, and I can now click C for close. I also need to have some plane change lines in my top view, so I'm going to use my tracking to find those plane change lines. Now, if when you use your tracking, your object snap is not going to the extension to this line, you may want to come down to your object snap button down here, right click over it, and make sure that your extension snap is turned on. It'll help with this function. I'm going to click Escape to close that. And let's go ahead and do our next line from here. And we have our object. The next thing we need to do is to draw a transfer line, a 45-degree transfer line. So I'm going to draw my line using my line command. And I don't want my ortho on anymore because I need it at 45 degrees. So I'm going to turn off my ortho. And I want my line to be at 45 degrees. The easiest way to do that is down in your quick drafting tools, you can turn on your dynamic input. When your dynamic input is on, what it's showing you is what the command line is simply asking you to do, and it's giving you a place right by the cursor to put in your information. So right now it's asking me to specify my next point of my line. I can go ahead and make a line 10 units long. I'm going to click Tab, and I can put in my 45 degrees. And I have a nice transfer line there. I no longer need my dynamic input, so I'm going to turn that off. To construct this right elevation, I'm going to use my line command. And I'll draw a line. I need my ortho on. I'll draw a line through my transfer line, and then I'll take from that intersection straight down with ortho on. And this is the back side of my right elevation. For my front side, I'm going to draw a line from here, overextend a little bit, and then another line from here down. That's the front of my right elevation. To get the top and the bottom, I'm going to draw a line. I'm going to use my tracking to come over to my object and draw a line. I'm going to do that again for the top of my object. Okay, and I can now trim my object up. I can do that by using fillet. I'm going to click Enter to fill it again. You can also, when you're in the fillet command, if you look down, you have options, undo, polyline, radius trim, and multiple. If you select multiple, that means that you can use this command several times without having to hit enter in between. But when I'm done with that, I can simply erase my construction lines. And I now have 3 views of my first object. So let's move on to our second object. It looks like we have a 4-unit diameter cylinder. So we're going to use our circle command here. I'll select my circle diameter. Okay. AutoCAD's asking me to find that center point, and now my diameter, I'm going to type in 4, enter. And I have an inner circle of that cylinder that's a 2-unit diameter. So I'm going to draw another circle, locate the center, and I have my snap to snap right into the center of my existing circle. And I'm going to now draw a 2-unit circle. And there's my front view. Let's see, for my top view, I need to make sure that my object snaps are going to allow me to snap to the quadrant of my circle. So I'm going to come down to my object snap button at the bottom of the screen, right click, and turn on quadrant. And now when I hover over my circle, at every quadrant it snaps. This will come in handy for making our top and our right view. So let's go ahead and draw a line. We're going to track from the left quadrant up to our top view. And it appears that this cylinder is 6 units in depth, so I'm going to type in 6. I can type in 4 units for my width, or I can also come down and track from my right quadrant. I can track from this point and close it. There's my top view. I'm going to do something very similar to my right view, but I need to include that transfer line. So once again, I'm going to turn off my orthographic tool. I'm going to draw a line from here. I'm going to turn on my dynamic input. In this case, I'm going to make my line a little bit longer, so I'll make it 13 units. I'm going to push tab to move to my next option, which is degrees. I'm going to type in 45 degrees, enter, and I have a nice transfer line. If I leave dynamic inputs on, you can see all the extra lines and windows that are on the screen. At any time, if that's distracting, you can come down and turn off your dynamic input. Okay. Let's go ahead and click enter to end that command. And now let's draw our right view. I'm going to click line, find my quadrant. I need to turn my ortho back on. I'm going to draw the top of that cylinder. I can do the same for the bottom. I need to find the front and the back by using orthographic projection. So I'm going to draw a line there over. And you'll see I started these lines a little too far away from the original object. So I'm going to have to clean that up. And once again, I can do that with fillet. I'm going to click on my multiple options for fillet. And this way I can do 4 fillets without hitting enter in between each one. And I'm going to erase these additional lines. Let's go ahead and start our third object. It looks like we have a half circle that is 6 units in diameter. So let's start with drawing our line in orthographic mode. I'm going to start my line. I'm going to come over 2 units, up 1 unit, over 2 units, down 1 unit, and over 2 units. And click enter. I'm done with the bottom part of this object. Now I can draw a half circle for the remainder part of this view. I can come up and grab a circle. If I look at my circle options, I can do center radius, center diameter, a 2-point circle, which is what we want to do in this instance. So I'm going to click on 2 point, select my first point and my second point, and there's the top of my object. And I can simply trim the lower portion out. So I'm going to trim. If you look down in the command line, to select all lines as a trim line, you can just click enter and then trim the object as you need. And there's our front view. For our top view, just like our cylinder, I'll use tracking. I need to go back 5 units. I'll use tracking again. And there's my top view. And then once again, I need my transfer line, which will be a 45-degree line, so I'm going to turn off my ortho mode. I'm going to turn on my dynamic inputs. I'll make this a 12-unit line at 45 degrees. Enter to end that command. I'm going to turn off my dynamic input, and I can start drawing my right view. I need my ortho on. Also, if you click enter when you're done with the command, it'll automatically go to the command that you just ended. So for example, I just ended a line command. I don't need to go up and push my line button again. I can just click the spacebar or enter, and AutoCAD will automatically go to the line command. So I'll draw another line using tracking here. I'll hit spacebar so I can get another line. There we go. Clean that up with fillet once again, multiple times. And I can erase these objects. Those are the first 3 orthographic views on your first drafting assignment.